Are you all ready to learn about the retirement system?
Yeah.
Okay, how many of you are in the retirement system as an annuitant right now? All right, I assume the rest of you are in the active phase, you're still working? All right, keep working. We know it's tough. We hear all the rumors and all the things going on in state and county and local government, so we know what the world is out there. Not quite like it used to be, but we appreciate all your work. We're all public employees. One of the great benefits we all have is what we're going to talk about tonight, our Wisconsin retirement system. The sad news is it is under assault, and that's what Buzz and I are going to talk about for the next hour until we have to start migrating onward. And we're trying to work, by the way, we're going to try to save enough time for Q&A, and if we run short of that, and if you have extra energy, I think somebody's going to try to find a spot where we can rendezvous at, be it a watering hole or some other place towards the end, if you want to keep going and we don't quite get to any questions or issues you have in your mind. So bear with us, and we'll see if we can find that spot for you towards the end of the program. My name is Roger Springman. I do live in Wyacina, the cheese capital of central Wisconsin. Our one and only industry is the Grande cheese plant, and so we make mozzarella. Mozzarella, mozzarella, mozzarella. That's all we make there, but it's good mozzarella. Buzz Davis, I don't know if you make cheese in Stoughton. What do you make in Stoughton?
Lutefisk.
Okay.
Lutefisk we make it, and that other stuff that's fish. That's kind of crunched up.
Okay, I'll take cheese.
Can't remember what that is.
So let me start with this, because our time is short. We're not going to. Buzz and I know each other for 20 years or 30, whatever it is now. So we're going to try to keep this to the point tonight more than we did last week, and maybe a little less entertaining, but more factual and myth busting. So if you all have one of the flyers that's on the tables either side, I want to have you refer to that first one on top. It's the one that's stapled together. Buzz and I work with a group called POWERS, Protect Our Wisconsin Retirement System. We are a group of very active Gray Panthers, all former county, state employees. A lot of us were unionized. I was with AFTW. Buzz was too, actually. And we get together, we met, we know each other over the last year because of all the statewide stuff going on. And we just decided, as a bunch of pretty knowledgeable Gray Panthers, that we got to do some things to protect our retirement system. So last fall, then, Buzz, working with his buddies, I came in a bit later, founded POWERS. These two publications in front of you that are stapled together, they're flyers, front side, back side, are some of our publication efforts. Another group we work with is the Wisconsin Alliance of Retired Americans, Billy Feitlinger's group. And Billy's group is very much a part of us. They're very active, and it's a very good group to pay attention to. That's why in the back side of the one flyer, we do mention Billy's group, the Wisconsin Alliance of Retired Americans. A very good group to know, to join, and get active with. And I say that because I'm going to actually start with an ending. The only way that we get to save the Wisconsin retirement system, quite honestly, I'm going to be direct with you, is that it's political. It's become way more political than any of us ever wanted it to be, and that's the battle we're in. And unfortunately, the current office holders, Walker and many of his Republican colleagues, and again, it's nonpartisan, but I'm telling you, they've turned it into a very partisan issue, and that's sadly where we are today. So what you need to do and what you need to know is that from the ending to the beginning now is that you've got to tell anyone who's not here tonight, who doesn't hear what you hear, that the only way we can really effectively save the Wisconsin retirement system in its current form largely is to protect it, and next week vote for people who care about it, and that would be Barrett and Mitchell. They're very much supporting of this system. Unfortunately, Walker and his Republican colleagues are not. And in fact, as we get into our program, you're going to hear the things that are going on, and I think it's going to make you pretty sad and maybe even a little outraged. So with that said, the way we do what we do is we talk to people who are not here tonight, tell them to vote next week, and tell them what you learned tonight, what you know. Give them a copy of this. If any of you want this electronically, I think Marcia and her progressive group, Progressive Windsor, can get this out to you electronically, Progressive DeForest, Windsor and DeForest, and make sure that you get this and share it as far and as wide as you can. So We all do better when we talk to a neighbor, talk to a friend directly, and not just hear something on TV, radio, or whatever. We're more compelling, we're more convincing when we're one-on-one with people we know and care about. With that said, let me just jump right in now. We have a very unique and wonderful pension system. It's a defined benefit system. And momentarily, Buzz is going to give you the background and a quick definition of defined benefit and defined contribution because of the following reason. It turns out, and we're going to give you some current examples of that one of the things that's going on is to try to get the current politics of the state of Wisconsin to push our system from a defined benefit program to a defined contribution program as a 401k kind of program. So momentarily, Buzz is going to talk about that differential and what that means, but what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to tell you the more important big-time facts is that you have earned these benefits as a public employee. They were bargained for, you've contributed to the system, and the system works very smartly and wisely to make sure that its investments give you the annuity that they guaranteed to you. So you have earned the benefits of the Wisconsin retirement system. It's an earned benefit. It's not a taxpayer giveaway to public employees. So one of the things that you're going to hear either from some right-wing think tanks, the MacGyver Institute, you're going to hear it from, I'm thinking of the Wisconsin, not the Progress Group, Club for Growth, any of the other groups is somehow or another that we're given these benefits of this pension program and we've not earned them. It's a taxpayer giveaway to public employees. So what you need to know first is right on our first myth-busting fact is that, and I think it's maybe even our first or second one, is that you have earned these benefits. This is an earned benefit. So whenever you hear a neighbor, a friend, or anybody else somehow say that this is a taxpayer giveaway to public employees, that is nonsense. This is something that your unions did bargain for and still bargain for. They try to protect you as best they can. They did this with the willingness of the state government to pitch in, sit around a table like we are tonight, make a decision and say, you know what, I am giving up some of my wages for a defined benefit program that we think is good for us as employees, good for you as the state of Wisconsin, or the county of Dane, or the local school district. Why? Because you know that a defined benefit program gives you something stable for the future. You are trading off some wages for future stability. Now, when I grew up, my parents always said, pay yourself first. And how many of you heard that from your parents in some way, shape, or form? That's exactly what this system is. That's how it works. When you pay yourself first, when you take care of your future needs wisely, when you get that money in your pocket, in fact, when you don't even see it in your pocket, when it goes right to the account, and not through any opt-out or other things we'll talk about in a while, that means that you've taken care of yourself. You've taken care of yourself with your unions, most often negotiating on your behalf to make sure that you had access to a defined benefit program that could supply you with the kind of secured future that you want and that you deserve. And in exchange for that, you gave up wages, or you gave up access to some more wages. So this was a trade-off. And so whenever you hear someone try that line on you, don't you buy it, come back with some obvious facts, and if you look at that first sheet of ours, you're going to have some great information for that conversation. Because I guarantee you, over the next 4 to 6 months, especially if the politics don't change, you're going to hear the public and some of the editorials coming out of different papers somehow saying that this is a taxpayer giveaway to you as public workers, and that is total hogwash. You've earned those rights, you've earned those benefits. People sat around a table, made a decision years ago to do this. It was done fairly and squarely, and both parties agreed to it. Both parties agreed to it. It wasn't the union clubbing the state or clubbing the county or clubbing the school district. They sat around a table, made a decision, because the school district also, the county, the state benefit by happy workers who know they have a great benefit for their future security. So use that language whenever you have to to defend the value of this system. Please do so. The other thing I'll point out briefly, and then I'm going to turn it over to Buzz, is that the other great myth that's out there is somehow that the taxpayers are spending scads and scads of money to support this pension system. And in fact, I think it's our second, make sure I get my glasses on here. And the first myth, if you have that sheet in front of you, you'll see that we actually addressed that by saying that if you're an annuitant, at least, I mean it's at least now, 66% of your benefits come from investment earnings. Recall that this is a private, even though this is a public pension program, the vast, vast majority of the investments that SWIB does on behalf of the ETF come out of Wall Street. And normal investment securities, bonds, real estate trust, all the other things that you may do with your own personal investing, they do by the billions of dollars on Wall Street themselves on your behalf. So this is not some kind of system that is not a privately supporting system. The Wall Street already benefits by the system. It's just they want to benefit some more. And we'll talk about that in a second. So this takes your money invested in Wall Street and other securities and banks and other kinds of bonds. And because the people over at SWIB are very astute, very specialized, they have great formulas, great algorithms, they do very well, and they've done very well for us over the years. So this does invest in the private sector. So don't ever let anybody say this is a fund that is not benefiting the private sector or somehow peels off these benefits and gives them only to public entities or something like that. This does invest in our country. It also invests in Wisconsin. 13 billion of the dollars that are tied up of these nearly 80 billion in this system also are invested in Wisconsin. Wisconsin companies benefit by this program to the tune of nearly $13 billion, either directly or indirectly through subsidiaries or direct in-state companies. So this is a fund with $77 billion that invest very wisely across the whole nation, but also even in our own home state. So again, don't let somebody try to spoof you or kind of deflect you from believing that somehow the system doesn't serve the private sector of America and make America a better country and is somehow non-capitalistic. It takes the premise of a capitalistic system, investing in a company vis-a-vis Wall Street, securities, bonds, other instruments, and just takes all that money, pools it together, invests it, takes the investment, returns out, and gives them back to you. So you get the benefit of the investments out of Wall Street. So with that said, the other thing is that when you visit ETF, and I'm sure a lot of you have been there for your retirement estimates, all the staff there, all their pay is from investment earnings. None of them receive GPR money. So all that staff over there is not being paid by taxpayers. Okay, so make sure you know that too when you deal with people who have a different point of view, and you're going to run into them. If you have to bring that fact up, it's right there in the opening page. Those people are working off of investment earnings. And finally, the other fact I'll point out, because this is important, is that Wisconsin system is a top-ranked system nationally and even in the whole wide world. It's often in the top 10 in the United States, the top 20 or more in the whole world, quite commonly, depending upon the category of measure. And so with that said, because it's so smart and wise, and getting wiser, by the way, but I don't have time to get into that tonight, if you look at another statistic we put in there for you, the very first fact under the myth buster, number one, only 1.26% of taxpayer money for this public pension program comes out of our taxpayers' money to support the system. So 1.26%, that's lower than the national average for the amount of money it takes to support a public pension system. So again, these are very smart people at ETF and over at the State of Wisconsin Investment Board. They know what to do, they know how to do it, they do it smartly, they do it economically, and only spend 1.26% of taxpayer money to give all of us, and they actually give the taxpayers the kind of people that do the people's work that we do and we've done. So something we also should be proud of. So I've given you a lot of facts, figures, some basis of defending the system, and the final thing is this. Roughly 12, and this is right at the top of that same piece, around 12% of all Wisconsin adults have a direct link to this system. That is, when you add up all the public employees, county, state, local, school districts, and all the other qualifying categories of public employees, 12% of all Wisconsin adults have a direct connection to the Wisconsin retirement system. Statewide, if you can add the families of those people into it, and forgetting the extended families, about 20% of Wisconsin's population somehow has a direct connection to the Wisconsin retirement system. It's a huge driver of keeping not only us secure in our retirement, but helping all of our local communities do well during tough economic times. We have some money, maybe when our neighbors don't, and that maybe creates some tension, but it also allows you as an annuitant to spend some money on restaurants and other things to work on your house this summer, go on a vacation that other people may not have quite the luxury of because they're not in the spot that you are. So we are an important stabilizing force locally in the economy, and at the bottom of that page then we do have some more numbers for you to consider. So again, just be thinking about how important we are to Wisconsin and why protecting the system is so important as we now launch into some real kind of more, I should say, less good reasons or some more negative reasons why we're sitting here tonight having to now think about defending it and protecting it. I'm going to stop and let Buzz get into the topic of defined benefit and defined contribution. Buzz, it's all yours.
Thank you, Roger. I worked for many years as an analyst, program analyst, planning analyst with the state of Wisconsin. And one of the things you try to learn as a good analyst is know when you know what you're talking about and know when you don't know what you're talking about, okay? So in this one, for Roger and myself, we're near knowing what we don't know what we're talking about. If I was to talk with you today about heart surgery, and they'd say, well, Davis, what's your background on heart surgery? I'd say I worked as a planning analyst with the state of Wisconsin. And they'd say, well, Jack, and you're gonna tell us about heart surgery? You know? So today, we're gonna tell you about pension funds. But pension funds are just as complex as heart surgery. The boys and girls who spend their lives in pension funds, either in the terms of the people that, like at the employee trust funds, who end up with the management of the pension fund, and the SWIB, State of Wisconsin Investment Board, which takes the money and manages the money in the pension fund. ETF manages the pension fund itself, and then contracts out a lot of work to do the analysis to firms which are experts in pension fund actuarial analysis, you know. So a lot of this stuff is above and beyond us, and it would be nice if were people fighting for this that had much more background than us, but they're not, because if they were, they would quickly be fired. Okay? The only people that know this business in the state of Wisconsin are the people that work for the state investment board handling the money, investing the money, and the people that manage the pension fund at the employee trust funds. All those people, most of those people are civil service type people. And then a whole bunch of them are appointed people, political appointees. The secretary of both agencies are appointed by boards. They're not appointed by governors yet. But the governors always want to do that. Right. So anyway, Roger and I take this as just people who have been studying it, but that doesn't mean we have all the answers. So why don't you all see if you can get this page that says all work and no pay. And while you're looking at that, I will briefly try to explain the difference between defined benefit and defined contribution pension plans. A defined how many of you know what a 401k is type pension plan? All right. You put your money in your own kind of bank account, investment account, and then you invest your money, and when you retire, however much money you have in that account, you can say, well, I'll just pull out so much money a month, or you can take all that money and roll it into an annuity of some sort with another private company and say, I'm going to give you all my money or half my money, and how much would you give me back a month if I think I'm going to live so long or whatever. They'll figure out how long you're going to live, and they'll say, this is, you give me this many hundreds of thousands, and this is what I will give you back a month. That's what you get with a defined contribution plan. Yes,
We don't seem to have very many of those pages.
I know, I only did about 30, but, so you're gonna have to share if you have
We don't
one.
have any up in the front
We
here.
we have an extra that we can.
We got an extra here. There you
It
go.
only takes a second to get this picture up. So a defined contribution plan is what many companies are now offering in the United States, private sector and public sector. And it's a pension fund, it's a type of pension which is very difficult to administer. How many of you think you are really sharp on knowing which places to invest your money, what kind of real estate to invest your money, which banks you should invest money in terms of shareholders and all the rest of it? Most of us aren't too sharp. The man who just retired from the Wisconsin State Investment Board wrote an article recently, which I have, but I didn't run off, which explains why the average people in the United States can't really figure out all of the difficulties involved in a 401k. The result is, there's two things that happen. One is they make mistakes, and the earnings go down. The other thing is that if you have a group that manages your 401k for you, they always seem to come up with a nifty little fee to get more money. So no matter whether you make money or lose money, they're getting their fees. And their fees increase as they go along. They want to have a lot of fees. So that's basically the defined contribution plan. Corporations and sometimes government, if they had their own way, they wouldn't have any pension plan at all. But if they are a little bit more generous, they are now offering defined contribution plans, which are very limited in value. The average person in their 50s has almost $50,000 or $70,000 invested in their defined contribution plan. Now, between their age 50s and when they retire, when they're 65, maybe they could double it and have $100,000. But $100,000 to be taken off in monthly payments plus your Social Security is not going to get you very far. So, defined benefit programs are the ones which major corporations had in the past, and many major corporations in the United States continue to have defined benefit programs. Most of the pension systems for public workers, state, local, county, school district, that sort of thing, most of those pension funds in the United States are defined benefit. And defined benefit is simple. It is that you worked for our company, you worked for our state for so many years, you earned this kind of money throughout your history, and you are this many years old, and in our state or our company, you can retire at age 62 or 65 or 67 or whatever their regulation is. And they say that if you wait till that time, then you get this kind of formula. If you decide to retire early, or we take and say you're now bald, you have gray hair, so we're retiring you early, then you get this kind of pension from it for each month, based on your earnings, how long you work for them, and how old you are. So that's the defined benefit. And the defined benefit normally is a benefit that comes in at a certain number of dollars per month. And they're either going to pay you that money every month as long as you live, and then when you die, that's the end of the benefit. Or if you want a little less per month when you die, or a lot less per month, when you die, you can take that smaller amount, and when you die, you can give that to your partner. If they're married, and sometimes when they're not married, depends on the plan. So the state of Wisconsin has about 7 different types of formulas, which get rather complex, but basically that's it. Now, I mean, if you have another kind of defined benefit plan, some of them may say, when you retired at age 65, this is your first benefit. And then each year, we are very generous. We'll give you a cost of living increase. And it goes up a little bit, up a little bit. Or it stays flat, goes up a little bit. So that's where the cost of living. The state of Wisconsin doesn't do that. State of Wisconsin has a very complex formula for determining whether or not the investment fund is making enough money that it can share some of those returns with the people who have already retired. So when the state of Wisconsin, you retired at an age, whatever it is, and you got a benefit this much, that's your floor benefit, and it cannot be changed by law, can never go below that amount for the rest of your life. And then we have a formula that shows that if the investments are doing very nicely, then we pump all the money into a 7-year or 5-year formula, whatever it is, and then out pops how much you can increase the pension for a given year. And you might get a bump up in your pension. You might get a bump up in your pension. So you have lots of bumps. For people that are retired in 1980 or something, they're from $0 up to their floor might be this much money. And all of their bumps have added this much money on top of it. So that's their floor. This is how much they're now being paid because of all of these increases. But those are all during the good years. During the bad years, which we've had 2 major recessions or depressions, crashes, whatever you want to call, in just the last few years, then the state goes and it starts taking back your money. It takes back your money. It takes back the money that they gave you because the fund can no longer afford it once they calculate out bigger, tremendous losses in 1 year,